Hi, I'm Eli from Honeyfield Farm. I'm really happy to be here today, and I really appreciate NOFA putting this event together and giving me a chance to share a story with you all. And it feels really relevant today because it's a story about food sovereignty and community, and it's a story about our friend Yusuf. And it's a hard story for me to tell because it involves violence perpetrated against a family of farmers. But it's also a story that inspires us every day on our farm. So I wanted to share it with you all today. So Yusuf Abu Rabi was 24 years old when we met him through Instagram. So he was the same age as like so many of our farm workers and our employees at our farm. He came from a family of farmers that grew a distinctive strain of red gold strawberries. And I really feel like a lot of us here can kind of relate to like a family of strawberry farmers. From a young age, he really took to farming in a community focus, and he used an agricultural engineering degree to create innovative techniques and methods that really helped kind of use the best of what was available despite a long-term blockade of supplies into Gaza. He said, planting seeds is not just an act, it's a declaration of resilience. In October 2023, Yusuf's family farm and their greenhouses were bombed by the Israeli military. His family were among the hundreds of thousands who fled to Rafah, and like many others, they struggled to find food and shelter. And after a few months, his brothers and him made the dangerous journey all the way back to northern Gaza, and they salvaged what seeds they could find from their destroyed crops in their fields. And they planted every seed they could in every pot and container and rooftop and any space of tillable land they could find. They planted the seeds, and they shared the food, and they shared the plants with their neighbors. And in a small period of time, 20 other farmers who had been displaced made their way back to the land, rallied by their efforts, and they formed a cooperative, and they planted seedlings and distributed food, and they distributed plants to their neighbors, and they helped restore water access, and they helped their community learn how to grow plants in pots because so much of the soil had been contaminated. At times, this was the only source of food that thousands of people in northern Gaza had access to, and because of that, they were better able to resist the efforts of the occupation to starve them out of their homeland. And through all of this, Yusuf shared inspiring stories and pictures and quotes with the world through his Instagram account. He was, surrounded by violence, but he radiated a gentle and a generous spirit, and he had like a subtle but really bright sense of humor. And his videos just showed so clearly like the love that he and his community had for each other. During a lot of his sleepless nights, he connected with farms around the world, including our farm. And he took the time to look at what we were doing and to ask questions about our farm, send us encouragement, talk about his hopes to visit one day and compare methods. It was an honor, and it was an incredibly humbling experience to call Yusuf our friend. In February 2024, Yusuf's rebuilt farm was once again bombed. His greenhouses were destroyed, his soil was contaminated, and still, he did not give up on his community. He continued growing every seed he could find and distributing plants and produce across northern Gaza, even while he was being harassed and targeted daily. He said, "I do not expect to live long because I do what drives the occupier crazy the most." In October 2024, as he finished delivering produce to his neighbors, Yusuf was murdered in a targeted Israeli drone strike. He was 25 years old. He was a threat to the occupation because his farming methods helped his community survive an imposed famine designed to starve them and drive them out of their homeland. Maybe food sovereignty doesn't look so dramatic in Vermont. Maybe growing produce for our neighbors isn't a matter of life and death here, but I feel like we all know that food insecurity really eats away at our community, and that we're all able to stand up taller for our rights and for our values when we have good food in our stomach. And we know that when we're well fed, we can offer support to each other and develop mutual aid networks. And we know that if we take care of each other, we help build a strong sovereign community. And we know that this is a direct existential threat to an authoritarian government. Yusuf is incredibly loved, and he is deeply missed by his community, by his family, by us, but especially by his community and his family, who continue growing food despite ongoing threats and attacks that have claimed more of their lives. His family's greatest wish for Yusuf is that his memory be kept alive and that his name be honored all around the world. So we share his legacy or his story to honor his memory and also to invite folks who are able to consider contributing to a legacy fund that's been set up to support his family and community. There's a link on our flyer over at that table. We hope that, like us, you'll be inspired by his determination to support his community and their food sovereignty. I would really like to just invite everyone here to be inspired by Yusuf the way we have been over the last 2 years. Every time I get demoralized in the field and I look at the weeds getting ahead of me or the crops I should have planted 2 weeks ago, I think about Yusuf and the revolutionary optimism that propelled him to keep creating life when he was surrounded by death. And I feel like he's really changed our fundamental understanding of the role that farms can play in our communities. So over the winter, we were brainstorming how to help uplift the memory of our friend while supporting food sovereignty here at home. And with the blessing of his family, we've launched a program called Yusuf's Garden, which we hope to continue for many years. Through this program, we've been donating veggie and herb starts basically to every community garden, food justice project, and community aid agency that we can reach. And sharing Yusuf's story as a reminder that it is all connected. The same reason that families are facing hunger in Vermont is the same reason that millions are being intentionally starved in Gaza, and it's the same reason that our neighbors, our undocumented neighbors that power the state's dairy farms, are being detained and deported. So we brought with us today a selection of veggie starts, and we invite you to take home with you with the request that you share the surplus with your neighbors or with willing hands here in the valley. Farmers, we encourage you to share and donate your extra veggie starts to food pantries and community garden groups. If you need more plants, get in touch with us. There's QR codes on our flyer as well. And we have lots more plants. And as your plants grow, we just ask that you please remember Yusuf, and who said, "In giving we receive, in sharing we heal." Thank you. Yusuf's Garden project is a new mutual aid project that we started this spring, basically to both share the story of our friend Yusuf and also to help support local food sovereignty and help support local families growing their own food. So we were inspired by our friend Yusuf, who was a farmer from Gaza, who we connected with in 2023, at the end of 2023, maybe the beginning of 2024, as he was starting his own kind of projects there after his family had been displaced multiple times. He was able to salvage seeds from his family farm and start growing the seeds and giving away produce and giving away seedlings to his neighbors. And that really kind of galvanized his community to kind of have a group of farmers band together and start just growing seedlings and food wherever they could. And a big part of what they did was they distributed the seedlings to their neighbors, and they helped them learn how to grow food in containers. And they helped redevelop water access where it had been cut off. So they played just such a pivotal role in their communities in northern Gaza to help people survive the famine that was being imposed on them. And we were really inspired by the work he was doing and by the time he took to just make connections all around the world, with farms like ours, and kind of reach out and talk to us about what we were doing too, and talk to us about what he was doing, and some of his dreams and goals as a farmer. So we really got to know him and saw him as such a really just special person, who we did some fundraisers with him, and tried to direct kind of some of our support his way for his programs. And then as his situation kind of continued to be more unstable, it was hard for us to know how best to support. We tried to do fundraisers, and when his farm continued to be targeted, he just kept growing seedlings, even though his greenhouses got destroyed multiple times and his farm got bombed so many times. And when he was murdered by Israeli drone strikes, it really just devastated us. We were so scared of it happening the whole time we knew him, because we knew what a target he had on his back because of the work he did to feed people in his community, and how much of a threat that was to the Israeli occupation. So we really reeled from that and took like the winter. I guess we just like kind of were brainstorming all winter, just like how to like really like honor what had inspired us about him and keep him kind of like alive on our farm. And like as we connected, stayed connected with his family and learned like what their hopes were about Yusuf's legacy, we really saw that like what they hoped for most was to have his name shared across the world. And um what we wanted to do was both like kind of connect like the reasons that people are food insecure here with the reasons that people are being forcibly starved in Gaza, and try to like shed light on both, while hopefully like supporting people in our community and also like inspiring people to like send maybe financial support back to Yusuf's community, and like see us all as the same community. So that's been kind of what we've been trying to do, and we've gotten really like nice messages from Yusuf's family as we've been sharing with them, what we're doing. And it's they're in a really tough situation right now. They're just trying to survive, and they're continuing to be targeted because they're still growing food for their community. But they've gone out of their way to really like say that how much it means to them to see Yusuf's name being used in this way of like sharing plants under Yusuf's name. So it gives us like a lot of inspiration to hopefully keep the program going, for like as many years as we can, and really develop it and like maybe recruit other farmers to do it in their areas, and see how far we can spread. This is a pilot year for us, so we're like kind of disorganized, but we have a website that kind of lists out like different ways people can get involved, and a lot of it is basically like if you can grow plants and share them, then we have plants that we want to give you to grow out in your garden and to share. If you um, want to help us take plants to places, like we have like people have been like volunteering to just like deliver plants out of the area. Like we were able to get some plants like Rutland and Montpelier that way by people volunteering to drive them and pick them up on our farm. We encourage people to reach out if they're not local, to like reach out to farmers in their area and invite them to like donate their extra starts to like the local food pantry or a community garden in their area. And so hopefully our kind of hope was that like within like kind of the people that sign up to be like distribution sites, that's another way you could get involved, is you can sign up to be a distribution site and just take plants from us and share them with your friends and neighbors or any group you're part of. And our hope was that would like help those groups and those community gardens like kind of help like strengthen their communities within their networks within each other as well, kind of independent from us.
So I want to give a huge shout out to all the farmers who made it out tonight. In the midst of peak summer season, no less, let's give them a round of applause. Woo-hoo! Thank you guys so much for all you do to feed our community, especially in light of all the challenges you've heard about tonight. I also want to thank NOFA-Vermont, Vital Communities, and the Upper Valley Food Co-op for bringing us all together and welcoming me to speak today. So I am here as a eater, and I'm also a former farm worker. Currently, I organize with Upper Valley for Palestine, with the Upper Valley Immigrant Solidarity Network, and with Grassroots Food Systems Resilience Projects. All right. Lots of good stuff going on in the Upper Valley. I also want to acknowledge that I'm only one of many who are committed to the work I'm about to speak to, and so I offer them gratitude and solidarity, and I hope to uplift their work and their struggles and their dreams for a more just future. I'll ground this in the fact that we are standing here today on unceded Abenaki land, and we know that no one is illegal on stolen land. Yet we know that the current government of this country is ramping up racist detentions and deportations of immigrants in our communities, often unlawfully and without due process. That's right. Our neighbors here in Vermont, the same folks who feed our communities, are being systematically targeted for detention and deportation. Migrant farm workers are of this place. They work the land in our valleys, their sweat is mixed into our soils, and their labor is materialized in the food we eat. Now more than ever, when their rights and their livelihoods are under attack, we must stand side by side with them and welcome them to our home with open arms. We also know that our struggles are intertwined, because we've seen in the past months how those who have exercised their First Amendment rights, spoken out, especially against the genocide in Palestine, have been wrongfully detained, some of them right here in Vermont, especially Rmeza Ozturk and Mohsen Madawi. We know that the same United States government, which is committing inhumane kidnappings and deportations here at home, is also aiding, abetting, and directly committing crimes against humanity abroad, including forced starvation, especially in the Middle East and in Palestine. So when we say tonight, may all be fed, I want to be sure that rallying cry is expansive enough to also include Palestine. That's right. Woohoo! So yes, our struggles are intertwined, and so is our liberation. I'll say that again. So is our liberation. And that's where we need to practice solidarity. The good news is, work is well underway here in the Upper Valley to stand with our migrant neighbors. The Immigrant Solidarity Network aims to reduce harm and increase safety in our communities, build power and solidarity across the Upper Valley and all of Vermont and New Hampshire in order to defend ourselves and our communities and create networks rooted in care, trust, and collective empowerment. There are multiple ways to get involved locally, including trainings, legal support, sanctuary schools, mutual aid and material support, and BIPOC and migrant-led initiatives, to name a few. If you're looking to plug in and to be notified of upcoming trainings and other public events, there is a sign-up on the table in the back, and we'll circulate some clipboards with sign-up sheets as well. I also want to amplify a call to action for migrant justice. On June 14th, Nacho and Heidi, two migrant justice leaders, were detained right here in Vermont. After pulling them over, Border Patrol agents smashed their car window and violently detained the two community leaders. And they are now both at risk of immediate deportation. Nacho is a former dairy worker, and he has led campaigns for workers' rights in the dairy and construction industries in Vermont, frequently testifying at the State House. Heidi, Nacho's stepdaughter, just graduated from Milton High School this spring. Though only 18 years old, she is already leading marches and rallies for Migrant Justice's Milk with Dignity campaign. So one thing everyone can do right now for Heidi and Nacho is pull out your phones. Got another QR code for you all. Pull out your phones and scan this QR code to sign the petition demanding their release. And if you've already done that, thank you very much. Your next challenge is to send that to 5 friends and get them to sign on as well. There's a couple other QR codes floating out there. We'll pass them around and have them at the potluck as well.
Just wants to take a picture.
Please.
There we go.
Awesome. And since this is a rally, I figured we could do a little bit of call and response. So the first one we're going to do, if you guys are okay with that, the first one we're going to do, I'm going to say, when immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
That's right. All right, let's try it out. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Okay, nice, but a little louder, please. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Okay, thank you very much. That was great. We're going to keep practicing. The next one we've got, you're going to repeat after me. Say it loud, say it clear.
Immigrants are welcome here.
Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Free Nacho, free Heidi, free all political prisoners. Thanks for being here. Migrant rights and immigrant solidarity in our region, especially as we know that the farm worker community in particular is being targeted with Border Patrol detentions and raids and whatnot. And so obviously that's quite connected to issues of food and farming justice. But the way I see it, those issues are quite interconnected. That is migrant justice and Palestine for a number of reasons. In this past 6 months or so, we've seen a lot of folks who have spoken out for in support of Palestine, for Palestinian rights, and against the genocide that Israel is currently carrying out, have been targets of unlawful, without due process detentions, and have been at risk of deportation right here in Vermont, especially with Rmeza Ozturk and Mohsen Madawi. And so we see the same kind of tactics and patterns of repression and surveillance. So that's one thing. And then on the other hand, a lot of the military tactics that are honed against Palestinians in Gaza, that the Israeli military like perfects there basically are then implemented here in the United States with our police and also ICE and Customs and Border Protection and Border Patrol. And our like the Mexico-U.S. border, for example, is a lot of the technology there is like through contracts with Israeli companies. So it's like so intertwined. And then of course, Palestine is also a food justice issue with most of the farmland now not arable because of bombing and destruction and like poisoning, and the water supplies are pretty much non-existent. And so, yeah, it's pretty hard to talk about one without talking about the other. And I think that's, I guess the other thing to say is that Upper Valley for Palestine has been organizing for almost 2 years now, building on some solid foundations of other organizing work that was previously happening in the Upper Valley. And when Trump was elected and when the threats against our immigrant community here in Vermont and New Hampshire became much more imminent and pronounced, of course, there have been deportations, you know, for the past many presidencies. But when those became more heightened, we were among some of the first to kind of like snap into action and figure out, okay, who are the people we know? How can we keep each other safe? How can we kind of join together, train up, skill up, working with migrant justice and making sure that we've got our community covered so that if ICE comes, you know, if someone is detained, we can be responding, we can be supporting with accompaniment or with mutual aid for the families or things like that. And of course, making sure everyone knows their rights as we're going through like checkpoints or other, you know, ICE activities. So yeah, of course, migrant justice is in our areas, especially Vermont, is kind of the #1 source, but also the New Hampshire ACLU on the New Hampshire side of things does a good bit of support for our immigrant community. Obviously follow Upper Valley for Palestine on socials if you'd like to stay plugged in. And we're always welcoming new members who want to get involved because we know that, you know, this is for the long haul. If there's anything we've learned for the past year and a half or so is that this work will continue on and also spur like, you know, solidarity work at home here in our communities. We want to, you know, of course we're working for liberation in Palestine, but also like what are we doing here locally in the Upper Valley too, so.
We grow the food you'll eat down there in New York City. Wouldn't it be a pity if Wouldn't it be a pity if our water is contaminated? 'Cause Andrew Cuomo has made it okay to crack the shale. We must not fail to see that we, the organic farmers of need protection, make the connection. What's the use of protecting only New York City and Syracuse? What goes up must come down, upstate, downstate. You cannot separate one from the other. Do, 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 do. We grow the food you'll eat down there in New York City. We are connected. We must all be protected. We are connected. We must all be protected. That's the band in New York State. Do it now. It's just hope it's not too late. We will try to do what's right. We will not give up the fight. We, the organic farmers, we, the organic farmers, we, the organic farmers, we, the organic farmers. Thank you.
Go organic.
Aaron wanted to do like a chant and have people play with their spoons. Yeah.
I'm Grace. I work for NOFA, and I have been to the future. I have time traveled to the future, and we win. And it's awesome, and everybody gets fed. So I'm really appreciating this gathering of people and the sense of interconnection that I'm hearing here. It's about how we're all bound up with one another and how all of these issues that might feel like they're being talked about in the news as disparate things, military conquest all around the world and the starvation of people in Gaza, the terror campaign on people who are growing the food here in our own state, the taking of resources from small farmers to big corporations, the need to comply with authoritarian demands. These are all the same pattern language, and what I'm hearing here is we recognize that, and we who want to collaborate with life, want to collaborate with the planet, want to collaborate with each other, can see that pattern and can resist it because we can see it. And so that feels really hopeful to me. So I've heard some really concrete actions we can take together. We can raise our voices for the Farm Security Fund here in our state. We can raise our voices nationally against the cuts to those most in need of our support and solidarity with SNAP cuts. We can stand against ICE and be clear that we will not comply. We will not turn our backs on our neighbors being taken. I've heard really clear calls to share plants and to resist the military campaign in Gaza. I've heard really clear requests to get loud with our support for migrant justice, to get loud in standing up to corporate interests. Are these things that you all are willing to commit to being loud about? Are we continuing to be in that legacy of Jake and Yusuf, people who believe that we can feed ourselves, we can collaborate, and we will keep planting seeds for each other no matter what happens? Can we commit to that? So we want you to know each other. One of the things that these feel like, for me, it's a little bit like coming to church and being like, okay, what do we all believe in? What do we all believe in? How can we remind each other and help each other remember these most deep values that we all believe in? And it's also about helping the people who will show up here meet each other. Because we are the ones, like, look around, take a look at some of these people. These are people willing to show up in the middle of the growing season and take an evening to talk about these connected themes and make some kind of a shared action plan, right? These people are going to keep you safe. You're going to need to call on each other in whether it's tomorrow or in 2 weeks or in a year. You will be relying on each other. And so one of the goals we have is that you actually exchange contact information with someone you did not know when you come here, right? Because we are building external campaigns that we're going to work on together, and we're building a mycelial web that's going to flow resources when it needs to and keep each other safe and provide housing and food when it needs to, okay? So we're going to meet each other. We're going to do a little interactive experience next, which just generated organically from a conversation over here, which is that we want everybody to grab your spoons, which everybody has so many beautiful spoons, and we're gonna do some form of a team building exercise that involves trying to feed each other from the pot of soup. That's one possibility. Another possibility is we just use our spoons to make music together, and we're going to sing a song. That one. Nancy says, God forbid we put these spoons into that soup pot 2 times. She will freak out. It's not happening. It won't be allowed. Okay. Well, I think we're going to sing then together. So grab your spoon. If you need an extra spoon, we're all going to come and be in front of this amazing band. Let's shout out to Bonnie Acker, who made this epic music. Bonnie Acker is a gift economy elder who is teaching us all about how to just make every space more beautiful, and she's making art like this everywhere. So bring your spoon, make a big circle over here, or actually like a tight circle over here. Kind of cluster around this. Now we're going to sing a song. I'm going to abandon this microphone. But we don't need this. We're going to sing a song. So we're going to come in a little closer. Okay? We're going to like really nest it. And we're going to learn a 3-part song. And here is how the first part goes. It goes like this. Holy, 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 holy. Okay, hold on, people. I'm going to sing the first line, and we're going to break it into 2 chunks so that we can all sing it together, okay? It's a good song for the topic that came up tonight. It's about how all land is a holy place and our work is protected. So it goes like this. Holy, 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 holy. This is the first part. Let's try it. Holy, 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 holy.
Holy, 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 holy.
Third part goes like this. The third part is what we call a diva part. It's a diva part. Feel free to join me if you want. I will sing it one time, and you can decide whether you are a diva. Every land is a holy land. 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 And back to holy, holy. Here we go. We're just doing it now. Holy, holy. Yes. Holy, holy. Holy, 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 holy silence and holy, holy sound. Holy, holy, each one of us and holy, holy, holy. Every land is a holy land. Every land is a holy, holy land. Every land is a holy land. Every land is a holy, holy land. Holy, 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 Let's meet each other. Steven, do you want to say a few words at close?
I just wanted to close really quick with just a little reflection about where I think we can be going forward. Starts like this. If as a global civilization, we can recalibrate our technology to align with ecological reality, integrate the indigenous worldview of relationality and reciprocity, set our sights on living within global limits, truly commit to social justice and equity for all citizens in a world where none are denominated illegal, honor the right of all living beings to have their existence. If we can do all these things, then we may have a chance of charting a path through climate chaos to a new and more highly evolved epoch in which humans assume our rightful place as a beneficial keystone species. Now an endangered species, the Atlantic salmon that once teemed in the freshwater tributaries, every major river from Canadian provinces to Long Island Sound, have been gone for so long that in many places there is no longer everywhere. At the time of first contact, the White River and the Connecticut teemed with Atlantic salmon. At present, 400 dams block 90% of the rivers that once served as the courses to upland spawning grounds. The salmon were a critical link in the food web that delivered ocean nutrients to inland forest ecosystems. Now, the only salmon to be found in the Connecticut River or the landlocked lakes are compassionate. It is time for us all to become the healers and work together to restore this land. And it is time to call back the salmon.
Yeah, so I think kind of the principal action is to really bring public awareness to how the current administration's policies, and particularly cuts to the USDA budget, are impacting both farmers and, as we say, eaters, or particularly low-income folks who depend on SNAP. As you are probably aware, the Farm Bill doesn't just deal with subsidies and programs for farmers, but of course it covers food security in the country and making sure that the most vulnerable people in our society and also like the school systems and institutions have access to healthy food. And so the cuts to SNAP affect both the production side of farms, but also affect farm families who are often low income, but just to affect our communities in general in a really negative way. And so this event was really about farmers and farmer allies coming together in solidarity to, in a sense, protest the actions of the current administration in regards to farm policy and SNAP, but also to really just reaffirm our commitment to creating a localized sovereign food system, believing that real food security lies in our developing a more effective localized food system and agriculture. And that really requires, of course, citizen participation. So just raising awareness about the importance of buying local in these times, it's become even more critical than ever that we support local farms. And what I really bring to it as a farmer with 30 years experience in the Upper Valley is the importance of soil health to also addressing issues of climate change and climate instability and contamination of the environment. So organic regenerative farmers have a really critical role to play in finding solutions forward. So much of the carbon that has been released through burning fossil carbon fuels can be resequestered into our soils, but only by stacking practices of organic regenerative land management. And I think that this is something that people don't really know a whole lot about. They think, oh, we need to switch to electric cars and clean energy, and that is all really important. But in a way, the way we manage land is probably the most profound and immediate way we can have a positive impact on sequestering carbon and not only sequestering carbon, but in restoring biodiversity to our landscapes. So we're really trying to farm in a way that not only produces nutrient-dense food and that we can sell our milk and sell our cheese and sell our vegetables and make a living at it, but we're really trying to farm in a way that we're also actually improving our soil and enhancing the biodiversity on the farm. So it's a win-win. Like a lot of times you'll hear people and even farmers kind of griping about, oh, people aren't willing to pay the price for local food. But we really can't put the onus on the consumer because we know that people are being pinched harder and harder in the economy, and average families, both parents or both, everyone in the household is working full-time and often more than one job. And so we can't just be saying to people, well, yeah, New England only is buying at most 15% of its food locally, but it's because people can't afford it, and it does cost more to be a small, diversified farm. It requires more labor. It requires, it's not as cost efficient as factory farming and bringing our lettuce in from California, but in the long term, all those costs to the industrial food system are externalized. And so what we really need is a reevaluation, as you said, system change that recognizes the critical role of farmers and farm workers in the local food system, and having progressive taxation so that we can assure that those people earn a Vermont living wage. Because how are we going to have young people coming into an industry if they don't understand, if they don't feel like I can actually make a living and afford to be here? As much as somebody might love the work and love the idea of it, we're just not going to. I'm 64 years old, and the average dairy farmer, when we have dairy cows on our farm, is 63.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So we really need to
very salient issues.
Figure out how we're going to bring young people in, and we need to figure out how we're going to just creates safety nets. I'm not saying we have direct payments to farmers when I talk about universal basic income, but we have things like that go all the way back to the New Deal times of the Roosevelt administration, where we have price parity, where we just make sure if the carrots from California are $1.15, we'll make, but it costs $1.50 to make that same bunch of carrots here, we'll make up that difference. We'll do supply management, so we'll make sure there's not too much milk on the market, so farmers can continue to get what they need and we'll create incentives for organic practices that really do contribute to solutions to the climate and biodiversity crisis that we're facing. You know, there's been a lot of amazing discoveries over the last 25 years about the intricacies of soil health and soil science, and one of the most wonderful and fascinating aspects of that is the discovery of how mycorrhizal fungi are really the keystone species of a healthy soil ecosystem. And so, like in a forest, like even in an ancient old-growth forest, 60% of the biomass of that forest is actually under the ground. And what we've learned is that mycorrhizal fungi enter into a mutualistic symbiosis with the roots of trees and plants and extend their root system effectively by 1,000 times. And that trees aren't just photosynthesizing to make themselves and feed their, create more tree. Trees are photosynthesizing, creating these sugars and delivering them to the fungi in exchange for phosphorus and metabolites and water. So there's this like amazing, and they can communicate chemically to other trees. They can deliver nutrients to other, like a large mother tree can deliver nutrients to smaller trees. So there's this whole world going on beneath our feet that we hardly imagine, but learning how to work with and biomimic those processes in our farm systems, like for instance, we do no-till vegetable gardening now so that we don't destroy the mycelium of the mycorrhizal fungi with plowing and tilling. And so we're building up this organic matter so quickly in our soils, and that's carbon sequestered, but it's more like restoration of the carbon cycle that we're aiming at on our farm. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Pleasure.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the questions.